We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
You're listening to Founder Stories with Anouk and Barak. Brought to you by F2 Capital in partnership with IDC International Radio and No Camels.
When you say Israeli cuisine, at the minute politics goes inside. We are trying to figure out if there is Israeli culinary.
Hi, and welcome to Founder Stories. Today, we're talking with star chef Barak Yehezkeli, TV celebrity and founder of the exclusive Tel Aviv concept restaurant Burak, whose humor, charisma, and culinary genius have put him at the forefront of Israel's food scene now sweeping the globe.
We tried to research what is Burak, and we saw it's a kind of pastry with meat in the middle. But your name is Barak.
Yeah.
So is Burak also a spin-off Barak?
The Burak is a spin of my wife. Basically, it's my nickname. All my good friends, if they will see me on the street, will say, "Hey, Burak." Not a really big story behind it.
Got it. I'm also Barak. And I wonder, does the name mean something to you?
What, Barak?
Yeah.
That's my name. What do you mean?
No,
if
to
it
me,
means
I
something
like
to me.
I like the Hebrew lightning or to shine, or the Arabic blessed, like bringing
Baraka.
a blessing on other people.
Yeah.
I always took some pride in that. Did it shape you at all, or did you shape it?
No, I think that if something shaped me, it's my ginger color more than my name.
I think what is interesting for you, Barak, is that your name comes from the Hebrew name Barak, but you cannot even pronounce it, right? You cannot say it. You can only say...
I grew up in Ohio,
Yeah.
very, very far. And now when I go back home, the people at the airport who happen to be African-American look at me like I'm joking. They think it's an African-American name.
Because of Barack Obama,
and,
of course.
And everyone can pronounce it.
Yeah,
now.
That's the only way to explain my name. When I say Barak and they say, what? I say, okay, Barack Obama without the Obama. The second joke is that orange is the new black. So,
Anyone else in your family complete gingy, as they call it in Hebrew, a redhead? No,
just me.
What's it called in the red
dragon?
No, not the red dragon. No, in Judaism, the red cow that they
the heifer,
red heifer that they sacrifice in the Beit Hamikdash.
I didn't know that.
Yes, if there is a red heifer, it signifies the coming of the
Messiah.
It's a special
that
treat.
Would be Burak tonight. At the end of the night, you usually bring out the dessert. It's Barak on a platter.
Barak, what does hummus mean to you?
Well, basically, it's just like you said, butter or olive oil or something very basic.
Yeah.
Something like one of the first things that you put inside your mouth.
But is there...
He's breathing in very sensually when he says hummus.
Yeah,
it's like,
so there's more
did
to
you
it.
See that?
There's a story there.
Yeah.
Is Israeli cuisine... And what does Israeli cuisine mean to you?
No, that's a very big question, and I don't think we have enough time to answer it because I don't think there is an answer yet. First of all, it's a problem because when you say Israeli cuisine, at the minute politics goes inside. We are trying to figure out if there is Israeli culinary, and when we are talking about Israeli culinary, and we're trying to put borders to this culinary. So every time you say Israeli culinary, you say, wait a minute, so things that are coming from Lebanon or from Jordan or from Syria are not.
But it's interesting that you talked about borders because you say that your restaurant Burak you don't call it a restaurant. You kind of call it, a place with no borders.
Like a restaurant.
Yeah, where people can just come up to you and ask questions, and your kitchen is in the middle of the restaurant, and there are literally no borders inside your restaurant between the kitchen and
when we planned it, so everybody told me, okay, make the kitchen, put a bar around the kitchen, and everybody would sit on the bar. I said, yeah, but then the bar is a border. I don't want these borders. I want them to sit around me. I want it to be opened. Even if you can see, you can go really through the kitchen. You don't have to go inside the kitchen and out. Just go through it. So it will make a circle round. So everybody could all the time be around the kitchen. And we put the volume up of the show a little bit. because maybe sometimes we would work a little bit more quiet if we were alone at the kitchen. But basically what we do is a bit of a show. And you just need to amplify what we already do in the kitchen so that other people would feel the same energy.
Right. Regarding being tucked away in the kitchen, you've said also that chefs usually have very big egos. They're kind of tucked away in their kitchen and they're not really interacting with their customers. Why do you think chefs have big egos? What about your ego?
I don't think it's an ego issue. I think it's something different. I think, well, anyway, I went into this profession because there is something very fulfilling by feeding people and see them eat and see them smile and host them. And that's something that I cannot do when I'm back at the kitchen. So usually what I would do, I would run back and forth from the kitchen and the floor. And this way it just allows me to be in my natural place and still host the people around me.
I can understand what you're saying because I don't cook. Barak does scrambled eggs, and that's pretty much all that happens in our house cooking-wise. We have a very nice man who comes to cook about once every 3 weeks, and then we freeze everything. To you, it sounds absolutely horrible, but that's the way it is. But I discovered the pleasure of seeing someone eat when Barak and I had kids, and it's... I guess for you, it's like on a much larger scale because it's for more people. For me, when my children are eating, it's like the best show in town. You know, you just see them.
Success.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. It's a great feeling. You know, it's like a primal feeling.
Just a few days ago, I had a day off. I was standing at the kitchen. My wife went to bring all the children. They were in the kindergarten and then they went to the park. She brought them back. And they just all went inside the house, and my middle child, Jonathan, just went in. He didn't even look at me. He just, oh, there's a good smell. What are you doing? I'm cooking. What are we eating? He just asked it like this, and he went to the toilet. But suddenly I felt like, wow.
Daddy of the year.
No, it's not the daddy of the year, that he comes back and there is
so
good
natural
smell in the kitchen.
Yeah. Flows.
Good food on the table, and he feels at home, and he just asks like a child, okay, what are we eating?
Yeah.
And this excitement.
But talk about, from the other side, having no borders, it can get chaotic. I talked to an Australian guy, and he said that they brought a group of investors to your restaurant. And one thing you do is, you know, the wine flows like water.
Yeah.
You're not looking, your glass is full again. And Australians and alcohol, it's a fun mix, but I heard it turned into a food fight. How did that make you feel? How did you handle it?
It didn't really turn into a food fight. I think he was trying to tell you how good it was eventually.
Okay.
And that they really got free from themselves and felt free in the space.
Yeah.
They weren't that drunk.
Okay.
They were pretty drunk. They were very happy.
Did you have any
I think a few of them went on the table when the dessert came on and had a very nice dance on the table. But it was fun. It's like...
Do you get drunk?
Not really.
No, because I always see you in your TV shows. You're always drinking.
We filmed the TV show for 1 week.
Yeah.
You see 50 minutes of it. So
Right.
they edit what they edit.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
But these Australians dancing on your beautiful dessert.
No, they weren't
layout.
dancing on the dessert. He finished the dessert and then he went up and danced.
Talking about the dessert, I'd say the most dramatic part of an evening at Burak is the dessert course, which takes almost 20 minutes to prepare. And, you know, the clock is nearing midnight and you move piece by piece and layer by layer and you end up with a two-sided black and white creation. And you then declare that the dessert is a reflection of life itself. Both sides of the dessert island have different but intriguing elements, and it's often difficult to choose. You sound like a chef philosopher. What do you mean by that?
I don't remember the black and white dessert, but I remember we made one black and white. Today it's a little bit more colorful. The whole idea about this dessert is... you know, the place is not a restaurant and everybody around the kitchen. And the idea is on one side to give people their intimacy and on the other side to open them up and to try to make them feel at home. The first idea was, how do I make people feel as my best friends? Because my best friends, when they come at home, they know where the bar is. They know where they can smoke at the porch. And they come into the kitchen, they see what I do and ask you, what am I making? I'm giving them a taste, and then the first dish is ready and they coming back, and everything happens together. Here it takes a little bit more time because first you want to give people their own intimacy, but then you want to open them up slowly, step by step. And when they do, you want to make them feel at home. And eventually, at my home, everybody eats together. You want to group everybody together to eat from the same plate because you went through 6 dishes almost, and you know, if you've been to the Burak, it's not that you sit on your ass the whole 3.5 hours. You stand up, you can sit on the couch up at the gallery, you can go outside and have a smoke, and then you start to communicate to people, you start to getting close to people. So step by step they open up, and then in the end, all I want to do is just all of them to be together. That's the idea.
Is that why Burak is open only 1 day a week? Because I guess
It was open 1 day a week. I have to. Now it's open 2 days a week.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Okay, people will be happy to hear.
Because after the first year, my good customers and friends started to be very angry with me that you need to wait something like 3 or 4 months to get a seat in the restaurant. So we decided to open another day.
And how are you going to handle being the center of the show 2 nights a week? Isn't it exhausting?
I'm handling it, and it is exhausting. And when people say, are you going to open another night? So that's a big no.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 nights a week, can you turn a profit? Is profit important to you?
No, that's not really profitable to feed 40 people 2 nights a week.
Okay.
But that's not what I'm making my profit out of. I'm making it from other things.
Like
But
your TV shows?
Yeah, but that's the beating heart of what I do.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't be able to be creative and think about new ideas to TV shows or to anything that I do on the net. And I don't think I would have any creativity or ideas if I stopped cooking, if I stopped holding a knife or a pen in my hand and
Yeah.
stand above the fire. So this is
Because
something
it's a risky business. I mean, they say 50, even as high as 90% of restaurants fail, and most shut down after 5 years. So is that how you balance that risk? You're doing it, for a greater purpose?
The Burak is the place of my heart and my creation.
Yeah.
This is the place that as cooks we research, we try to learn, and we try to develop, and we try to do what we like and have fun. And as long as it keeps itself balanced, it's okay by me.
You served in the army, like almost all Israelis. Was it as a chef?
No.
What
No,
did you do?
I was in the Air Force
Okay.
in intelligence, but
Did you know back then that you loved to cook?
all I can tell you is, like 2 years ago, I started to think, how did I really become a cook? There's one thing that I remember is that I remember as a child asking my father what was his dream. And he said that his dream was to be a cook. I just remembered it like...
What was your father's profession?
he's an artist, he's a painter, he's an art teacher. And maybe something of that went into my mind. And in our house, the second door that would open up after the first door when you knock on the door is the door of the fridge. Any time that friends of my father would come in, the door would be open, and then the door of the fridge would be open, and then all kind of foods would come out, usually a bottle of something to drink, and that's the way the conversation went. And for me, it was like, this is the way it needs to be. So I was always the guy who was cooking for all his friends, whether we went camping or hiking, so I was the one in charge of the cooking. I never thought it would be something that I will do. I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I'll be 30.
You're 46, right?
Yeah, I'm 46.
Has it happened?
No, it hasn't happened. And I'm not sure it's going to happen. I left this dream a long time ago. I understood it's not really a dream worth dreaming of.
So after the Air Force, you went to the Technion, which is like
Yeah.
Israel's MIT.
Mm-hmm.
What was in your mind at that time?
Well, it wasn't in my mind. It was in my parents' mind.
Uh-huh.
And they just signed me up. And I said, okay, if you sign me up, I'll go to the exams. And then when I passed the exams successfully, I was so proud of myself that I said, okay, if they were willing to accept me, and I didn't learn much at school, but if they were willing to accept me, so I'll go and learn. I learned my years. I had very good...
Learned what? What was your...
Civil engineer.
Okay.
And
And then what? Take us from there to Burak.
The truth is that I started cooking in India. I made my trip after the army very late. Usually you finish the army around 21 and then you fly. I worked and learned, and when I was 26, I decided to do my trip. I didn't want to go to India. I wanted to go travel the States and Europe, but everybody goes to India. I said, okay, I have enough money. I'll go to India. I'll start there to see how it works, and then I'll keep on going. And I fell in love, and I was almost 1 year over there.
Wow.
And I wasn't hanging around with the young guys after the army. So basically, everything that everybody did for at least 6 months, I had 2 weeks of it and then put it aside and said, okay. And then I just found myself cooking all the time. They don't have many cheese in India. So I took their paneer and started to make all kind of cheeses. I put it with salt in the corner of the room for 1 month to see how it ages. I made some Lebanese cheese from their yogurt. And then one day came this Italian guy with these amazing yellow flowers and asked me if I knew what it was. I didn't know. It was zucchini flowers. And he said, please bring this sour cheese that you're making. It was a Lebanese. And he just taught me how to feel the flowers of the zucchini. And we made tempura and we fried them. And then he taught me how his grandmother makes gnocchi. And everything just worked like this. When I finished India, I went to Thailand. And I'm very energetic. So the first 2 weeks, I'm not if it's allowed to say on the radio, but the first 2 weeks I was smoking a bong from a coconut. But after 2 weeks, I just put it
I
in
think
the
the
side.
statute of limitations has passed on your time in Thailand, so you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks, I had enough. I put it into the side, and then I just woke up every morning and cleaned the beach.
Wow.
The lady of the beach looked at me like I ate this wrong mushroom or something. And after
For an ecological, like environmental
I
reason, you
just
clean
had
the
all
beach,
the
or you
energy
just
and all the
needed
time, and I didn't have what to do. So this is what I did every morning. And after a week and a half, I just showed up at her kitchen and said, okay, listen, I had enough of cleaning the beach. From now on, I'm a cook in your kitchen. Whatever you do, I do. She said, okay. It looks crazy enough. And she said, okay. And I spent with her like 4 months in the kitchen. I really enjoyed it. And then most of my money dried up.
She didn't pay you. You worked in the kitchen for free.
No, of course. And then I flew to Boston because I had a few friends over there. And I had a friend who had a French restaurant. And I started to work over there at the kitchen. One step led to another. Here
And
I
you
am.
told your parents, I'm a chef.
I didn't felt a chef for a really long time. I think only in the last few years I'm starting to feel as a chef.
What separates a chef from
Well,
someone who
basically
loves to
the
cook?
word chefs come from the word chief, which means the manager of the... As long as you have a few cooks and you manage them, you're a chef.
Okay.
There's a chef de partie, there's a chef... there's a chef for every station in the French kitchen. For the sauces, for the meat, for the fish, for the vegetables.
You have a show, or you did a show, or you still do, called Anachnu ala Mapit. It's a great show. Mapit means napkin, which is a play on word for map, meaning we're on the map, where you interview Israeli chefs around the world who have opened successful restaurants. What has it taught you about Israeliness and about Israeli cuisine?
I think that Israeli cuisine at the moment could be referred as an attitude. Attitude of most of the chefs towards food has become not only about food, but also about
The experience.
the experience. Everybody are talking about food, art, and music, but eventually it finishes up by food that comes out of the kitchen. Music, there's a playlist in the background, and there's some pictures on the wall. So it doesn't really work. And this is something that I understood before I opened the Burak, and I understood that if I want all these three things to work together, you have to create something together. So basically, for example, the DJs in the Burak nights are people that I sat down with, and we are talking about food, and they don't understand shit about food. But it doesn't really matter, because I talk about my ideas about food, how I want people to feel, the taste, the way I build the palate of the meal. And I'm talking about each dish, where did the inspiration come from and how did I created it. And when I talk to them, their mind is already translating it to music.
Inspiration breeds inspiration.
Yeah, and then when they are up there, they naturally do it. They play the right music for the right food.
What you're describing is so unique and special and distinctive and
Poetic.
poetic. And we hear and see that Israeli chefs are succeeding all over the world, being profitable. Do you have the temptation to take
Yeah,
what
of
you're
course.
doing abroad?
Yeah, of course. The truth is we got approach from Manhattan, LA, Amsterdam, Vienna. We still haven't decided if we're going to do it and how we're going to do it.
So you wouldn't keep it running here under different leadership? You
No,
would
if
take
I-
the whole
if I-
crew like a show.
That's
Traveling circus.
That's what we're trying to figure it out. If we're doing it to show, or we're trying to format the idea and to open another place
Franchise.
abroad. Yeah.
Gourmet kosher. Is that an
Not a problem.
oxymoron? No?
No,
It's-
that's not a problem.
Have you seen it work successfully?
I've been cooking gourmet kosher to people who eats only kosher. No, that's really not a problem.
And what about environmental impact? Do you ever think about that when you cook? How does
That is one of the ideas why the place is open only 2 days a week, and it doesn't work as a restaurant, because if I know that I have 40 guests, I'm going to cook for 40 guests. Not more, not less. Exactly for 40 guests. I don't want to throw anything. Meat is a kind of a problem for me because the last few years, my consciousness started to awaken, to understand what we do when we eat meat. I don't think we're not supposed to eat meat. I think we're just supposed to respect it more.
It's a very controversial question, and it's something that, I also grapple with all the time is, the question of vegetarianism and veganism. And I think it's not black and white, though. There is a first step, which is reducing the amount of meat you eat and being conscious of where it comes from and who grows it and how it's grown, because they say cows are the biggest producers of CO2 in the world. And of course, there's a whole ethical issue of how these animals are being slaughtered. And I think it's not just your consciousness. There is a collective consciousness which is really changing and really encouraging locally grown, many cases grass-fed meat.
Although Israel is a little bit of a problem. When you look at such a small country, there were not cows in this area. Only
Interesting.
Only sheep and goats. The cows were brought here afterwards. So it's because the climate is not a really place for cows to grow. There's not enough grass on the ground.
Right.
This is the reason they only grow at the north of Israel. And you don't have enough space to grow free grass-fed cows to feed the whole country.
I noticed on your TV show you visited Joseph Haddad in Bucharest.
Yeah.
And the most famous chef there, who happens to be Israeli. And I noticed as you were entering his restaurant, he stopped to kiss the mezuzah. And I wonder what role, if any, religion plays in your life and in your work.
I'm not into religion. I think it makes us more problems than...
More borders.
More borders and more problems than solutions.
It's interesting because for a lot of Israelis we meet, you are born in Israel, religion plays a very minor role because they just feel so Israeli. Where we come from, Barak in the US and me in Belgium, religion is what keeps us connected to each other because we don't have Israel as a place to connect to.
Many people like to be connected to something, to be a part of community. This way they don't feel alone. They're less scared.
Right.
Because life is a really scary thing because we are all going to die.
Absolutely.
It's our tribe.
Yeah.
It goes back to the cavemen.
Yeah, so you need your tribe. And over here we already have the tribe. So it doesn't matter if you're religious or not.
Yeah.
We've heard about Uber, and the founder, Travis, was ousted. And his new concept is to create restaurants that only exist in delivery applications. Meaning the food is cooked in a basement somewhere. The customer sees what looks like a restaurant, but there's no physical place where people can go and sit. And that's his big vision to disrupt the restaurant industry.
Food is not just for feeding ourselves as fuel. it has a much greater part in your life. Because if I would tell you now, listen, I would give you all the money in the world, okay? You don't have to do nothing anymore, only what you'd like to do. I guess that what you would say is that you would like to spend a little bit more time together, a little bit more time with your children, a little bit more time with your family, a little bit more time with your parents. The only way that I know to do it is around the table. There's nothing more fulfilling than to sit down with all your family around one table.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. You've said before that Israeli cuisine is Israel's best ambassador. Do you find that Israeli cuisine is really crossing, it goes beyond politics when people look at an Israeli restaurant and they might have a certain idea of Israel? Do they apply that idea to Israeli cuisine, or does that transcend the politics?
I think it's transcend the politics because we are a melting pot of Jewish people that came from all over the world, from Northern Africa, from Eastern Europe. And when you're here, if you're eating a salted fish, you know it comes from Eastern Europe. When you eat a madoucha or a risa, you know it came from Tunisia or Morocco. You know exactly where everything came from. But the ability to put all of those things on the same plate and make it work together, this is what is Israeli cuisine. It's taking what was already here, the hummus, the pita, the falafel, to taking things that Jewish people brought from Eastern Europe, the Jewish people came from Northern Africa, and to make everything work together on the same plate.
Amazing.
So as we said, you're 46 years old. Mm-hmm. You look much younger.
Thank you.
Is there a secret?
I don't think so. Really good genetics, and try to be happy with your life.
What's your plan for the next 46 years?
I don't really have big plans. I go along.
Go with the flow?
Well, it's good to have plans, but then again, you need to be open-minded. Or you just plan your life ahead and then reality happens. Just like John Lennon said. Yeah. So if you don't want life to joke at you, it's good that you make your plans. It's good that you had the idea to go there at that date, at that time. But be open-minded. It might change because maybe another door would open. Maybe a better one.
Yeah.
So you just have to be alert.
You now live in Israel, although you travel around the world. As an Israeli, can you say you're proud of Israel?
First of all, I'm proud of Israel. Second of all, I'm crazy about this country. And third of all, I hate it.
Mm-hmm. That's so Israeli as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You live in Tel Aviv. Do you feel like you live in a bubble?
We live in a bubble, but we create a bubble. And we create it for a reason, because it's a reasonable bubble in this crazy country.
Yeah. And maybe you will inspire us to cook more, and I'll
use the juicer.
Yeah, use the juicer. Use the juicer that has been standing on our counter. This super expensive cold press juicer, and we have in our front yard we have kale and we have cucumbers.
Our heart is in the right place.
So what do you do when you wake up in the morning?
Oatmeal these days.
Oatmeal.
And that's progress.
Something you could just pour into a bowl and add
half
some
an
milk
avocado,
and that's it.
Yeah, pour some olive oil, run out the door. No, but the great thing about living in Tel Aviv is, for someone who does not cook much, is there's so much food around us, and there's healthy options, and there's
it's even more than that.
Options.
I don't understand why we need fridges in our house anymore, because you can buy everything fresh for the same day.
Yeah,
everybody has a small market somewhere near his house that he could buy a few tomatoes and a few cucumbers and fresh cheese, and that's it. You don't need more than that.
I agree. I mean, outside of the fact that we have this freezer full of 3-week-long food, we do really
don't
like
mess
the
with my
fact
meatballs.
Yeah. So the fact that we interviewed you now, does that mean we can wait less than 3 or 4 months for a Burak invitation, or is it strictly?
No,
is there a strict policy?
It means that you can just give me a phone call and I'll take care of you.
Oh, amazing.
That's
Look
the
at
way
that.
everything
Look at that
works.
smile.
That's the way everything works in Israel eventually.
Yeah. I'm glad you're open and you say it. Great. All right, Barak, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for joining us.
That was really quick.
Which Burak are you talking to?
Founder Stories is brought to you by F2 Capital in partnership with IDC International Radio and No Camels. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app.